Welcome to our weekly SoCal Sports Report podcast. John Stillman back, and we negotiated with the doctors and got the proper paperwork in order to finagle a way to get Vince Morales off that 7-day disabled list, and he's back with us. So
I am back.
Glad to see that.
Off the DL.
John Adams is on assignment. He's critiquing as many golf courses in Hawaii as he can in a 10-day period. Filling in for him today is Corey, whom I'm going to allow to pronounce his last name.
Corey Wanarovich.
There you go. So we're ready to go, and we'll give you folks a little bit of idea of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to lead off with the Rams. Big win, good second half against Houston, and a huge game coming up this week against Minnesota. Chargers, we get the news today that Rivers is now concussion protocol, so it looks like John Adams would love that because that was his worst case scenarios. What happens now? We'll have a World Series wrap-up. Let Vince offer a few of his critiques on the Dodgers' disappointing loss. We'll also talk about Dodger and Angel free agents. The free agent market is open. The winter meetings are in session. There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of scuttlebutt. I heard one sports talking head today say that the Dodgers should give up anybody but Seager or Bellinger for
Giancarlo
Stanton, yeah. But of course, he still has a gargantuan contract. We'll talk a little UCLA and USC football. They come up Saturday. USC has already clinched the Pac South. Are they going to be looking ahead? I certainly don't think so. And who would they like to play in the championship game? They got Washington State, Stanford are all in contention for that title in the North. We'll also talk about the 3 UCLA basketball freshmen who were apparently on a jet right now, on a Delta flight right now, back to L.A. after they were released from shoplifting accusations in China. Talk about a little bit about the Kings if we have a chance. I really want to get into the Ducks. Teemu Selanne, Paul Kariya, now inducted into the National Hockey League Hall of Fame. So we want to talk about a little bit about that. Let's get started with the Rams. Vince, what were your thoughts on Sunday's game?
Well, nice to get a team that's shorthanded like Houston in, to kind of get well. They had their first home game in a little while, and it took them a little getting back on track there. The first half was, the first part of the first half was just not great, but then the interception late and taking the lead and just never relinquishing it. The Rams offense is just so dynamic this year, and it just made me scratch my head and wonder, does Jeff Fisher ever get another job? My God, how bad did he have that team? My God. Now, look, the offseason moves that the Rams made really have made a big difference. They shored up their offensive line. The Andrew Whitworth free agent signing was the biggest deal in the offseason. And they just kept putting weapons and more weapons with Watkins and Woods. And, so.
Isn't McVay doing most of the play calling, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a huge difference right there.
And it's just so dynamic, and it's just so exciting to watch. I mean, last year you would just watch Todd Gurley run into the line of scrimmage and then fall forward for a half yard, and it was disgusting. And now it's just so dynamic because every time in your head you're thinking Gurley's got the ball, there's some wrinkle to it, a nice fake reverse, to Woods, scores a touchdown, a great long pass to Watkins. Just a lot of great plays and just so exciting to see.
They're hard to defend now.
Yeah,
really
sure.
hard to defend.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just jump right in, Corey.
No problem. Yeah, I like the fact that they're using Gurley out as a wideout as well. I mean,
absolutely.
Out of the backfield, catching so much more, and bringing Austin in as a running back or a tailback. I mean, the guy's doing an awesome job. But that was a great flip flop by McVay.
Yeah, for sure. They have so many weapons, and McVay was also sort of looking at tight ends. That was sort of his forte, and drafting some tight ends and shoring things up, and those positions have been dynamic, but the way that he's used his backfield and bringing Tavon Austin into the backfield, as Corey was saying, and then, spreading things out, even Farrell Cooper and Cooper Kupp, and, these guys are just, Goff is distributing the ball. He's getting good protection. It is a different team with a better front line.
Different.
Yeah, completely. And because we knew their defense was going to be good. Their defense was going to be stellar. It's an A class. It's a world class defense.
Defensive won them the only games they won last year.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And this offense is just.
They're
clicking.
stacked. They're absolutely stacked. But also, you look at Goff, man. He's setting his feet now. You can see him going through the progression, and he's hitting the open guy. He's not making things, trying to force things.
Right.
He's hitting the open guy and hitting him well. I mean, he's throwing some nice balls. That ball to Robert Woods was outstanding.
No, it was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. He is playing with such confidence. His arm looks great. Yeah. But the key is protection. It was always about protection, and the biggest thing, So if you had Jeff Fisher and you and we're indicting him now, and you said, he said, well, I didn't have an offensive line. I could have gotten the job done too. I doubt it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. He's in exile in Montana or Wyoming or wherever, and that was a bad team for many years under Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, well, they never had a winning season. I think they had a 500 season, but never a winning season.
Exactly.
Rams scored 33 points in each of their last two games, so they're going to put the points on the board. Let's look a little bit towards Sunday. That's going to be a big game at Minnesota. Minnesota's 7-2. They've got a good ball club, and of course our buddy Keenan is their quarterback.
Ironically, yeah. Case Keenum coming up, and Case Keenum's been playing great.
He has, and it's going to be an interesting game. I'm looking at the remaining schedule. The Rams have that one-game lead on Seattle, but they've got a little tougher road to hoe down the stretch. They play the Vikings 7-2 this week. Then they're at home against the Saints, who are also 7-2.
A great game.
Then after a hopefully not a trap game against the Cardinals, you get the Eagles 8-1, Seattle 6-3, and the Titans 6-3. Now not Seattle, but the Vikings, Saints, Titans are all in first or sharing first. The Packers, the teams that the Packers play between now and the end of the season, their last 7 games, have a combined record of 36-28, and the Rams are 39-25. The Packers did not play the Vikings. The Seahawks did not play the Vikings or did not play the Saints. They had the Packers and the Falcons, so they got a little bit of a break there. Those two teams are 10-8. The two teams the Rams playing are 14-4. But it's going to be a little bit of a struggle down this. I'm not saying they can't do it, but they're going to be thoroughly tested, I think, in the next second half of the season. They've got some teams that are really really good, really strong, and they're going to get some of those games on the road. They get the Vikings on the road. They get Seattle on the road, and they get Tennessee, who's tied for first. They get them on the road.
Yeah, the Viking team too. The Viking team just came off a big win in Washington, on the road in Washington. Yes. Kirk Cousins had a great game, but the Viking defense is just, they're scoring some serious points as well. So it's going to be a great test. This will be a great test for Goff and for the Rams offense. Yeah,
for me, I look back at that loss at home to the Skins and think, boy, little breathing room if they had been able to come back there and get that win. Yeah. That was probably the last time Goff really made a just terrible mistake, was that interception that sort of ended the game against the Skins at the Coliseum. And you look at that and you start thinking, wow, that would have given them a little breathing room, because like you said, Saints, Vikings, those games, a Seahawks game, it's and the Saints as well. I mean,
they're good teams.
They're good
Saints
teams.
are on fire too. They won 7 in a row.
Yeah.
Scoring like crazy.
What about that first game with Seattle? That was 16-10. Didn't they fumble the ball in the end zone in that game, or not?
Yeah.
So they could have easily won that game as well. The Rams.
So they have to go on the road to Seattle, and you don't want to sleep on the Cardinals.
No.
Any division game.
Cardinals just signed Matt Barkley as a backup.
Yeah.
Yesterday, so he's another Trojan.
Another Trojan.
Yeah, they're a Trojan in there. Because Drew Stanton is done, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Seattle only beat them, 22-16 or something. So, they're not going to be, they're certainly not going to be a pushover. Yeah, Minnesota's fourth in total defense, giving up 18.3 points a game. And, of course, the Rams are number one in scoring. They've averaged 32.9 points. So that'll be a real test, Ram offense against that Minnesota defense. All right. Chargers, like we said before, are struggling without Phillip Rivers. He's on concussion protocol, which I assume that means he'll miss this game, or not necessarily?
Well, I don't think not necessarily. I think it's likely that he would miss it because he got off the plane and self-reported.
Right.
So it looks like his 194 or 196 game streak is in danger, and not that he's been terrific, but it's a different team without him.
Yeah.
I don't know what Charger fans, with the backup and Kellen
Clemens has thrown 10 passes in 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, what is it, Cardale Jones?
I hope not.
Well, yeah, one awkward sack away from it being the Cardale Jones era.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in 2013 he relieved Sam Bradford in St. Louis and went 3-4 or 4-5 in 9 games. So he does not have, and he's 34 years old.
He's well rested though.
He's
injury free.
Yeah,
yeah. He should be all right when it comes to that.
But the Chargers' problems go so much deeper.
Oh yeah. This just magnifies him though.
Yeah,
but
exactly. But if you're a Charger fan, you've got to just be thinking it's Groundhog Day, the way that they keep losing on kicks.
Unbelievable. Nothing's changed. I mean, their location of their home games has changed, but everything else is the same. This is the same thing they've been doing for 2 or 3 years.
Exactly.
Losing by 3 points, 2 points.
Right.
Can't hold a lead in the fourth quarter.
It's just that, last year you looked at that team and thought, if not for a few breaks that go the opposite way on them, not a bad team. I don't look at this year's team and think that. I look at this team and think they're getting everything they deserve. They're coming home to roost.
Yeah.
They're looking at a pretty good draft pick, basically. They're in the top 10 now,
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they won't screw that up.
Well, do you have much confidence that that group is
Spanos is screwed? Not really.
No, look,
Bosa was
Bosa was a good pick.
That guy is a complete star on the field. He's man among boys.
No, absolutely. And I had my doubts about that because of his slow 40 speed and I just thought at the pros, but he's just been a man. He's just been an absolute man. Yeah, he's doing a great job.
I was a little worried when he held out right off the bat.
Right.
Usually guys that hold out, they go in and they get injured. But he did a great job coming in and having an impact right off the bat.
Yeah, he made his presence known early. I'll let Vince lead off on the Dodger. We'll just give a quick wrap up on the Dodger World Series performance. I know John was upset because he wanted to be here for that, but we'll maybe let him throw in his 2 bits when he gets back. Thoughts on the series?
Yeah, for the season, I thought, what a great season. I really enjoyed watching, as a lifelong Dodger fan. It was just amazing to see what they were doing, how they were doing it. It's sort of this embracing of the analytics, and they played it just perfectly. And there, even some of the things that I complained about early in the year, where it seemed a pitcher was going on the 10-day DL. Their new whatever, the new DL, right. Shortened DL. Yeah, it seemed every week. It was just great. And, Dave Roberts did a tremendous job. And for me, there's really, I don't know that you look at what happened to them in the series against Houston and say, like last year, you go, oh, well, we really need to shore up the relief pitchers. I don't think there's anything you can look at and say, this is exactly what they did wrong. That was a great Houston team.
That was a good team.
Whose best players played well. and the Dodgers' best players did not in the World Series. And when you have your all-world reliever blow a save, that hurts.
Yeah.
And when you have a chance to bring the series home 3-2 with your ace, Hall of Famer to be, he broke our hearts. I mean, he failed.
Yeah.
He failed.
Yeah.
So the big guys, and then the middle, Taylor and Seager and Turner and Bellinger, they just didn't hit. I mean, I don't know what their average was with 220, 230, I think is what they hit. Yeah. You don't win a world championship hitting 230. So their best players just didn't play. And that's not to say that they need better players, and that's not to say that there are things that they need to shore up. For me, it was just they ran into a better team that played better, got the bigger hits, and their best guys didn't perform when they needed to. Yeah. It's a different series if Kenley Jansen shuts down, game 2. And doesn't blow the save.
Absolutely.
It's a different series. And even if he did, like he did, and you get it to 2-2, you still a game back, in Houston, and you put Kershaw on the mound in Game 5. Kershaw had 2 leads, 4-run lead, 3-run lead, and another 3-run lead. And he blew it. He failed.
That's right.
And so for me, that's the hardest thing to swallow. It's the reason why I'm thinking, gosh, we need a number 2 guy that's a higher, like a 1A, not a Yu Darvish, not a Rich Hill. We need a 1A.
Yeah, exactly.
B, 1A, 1B guy, because, Kershaw throws a lot of pitches every year. He's shown to be a problem in the postseason, and like I call him, he's Clayton Manning,
He's got injuries creeping up on him now too.
Yeah, the back had to have been a problem. Yeah. There was a lot of things made about the ball, the low seams and he just wasn't spinning it. And he made some bad pitches. He made some pitches where you just go, wow, that looks like a 38-year-old Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Making those bad pitches. Yeah. That doesn't look like a 32-year-old guy. That doesn't look like a younger guy who's still got 5-7 Hall of Fame years left. Exactly. It just didn't look like it. There were times when he looked great, he was really dealing, and then just could not spin a pitch.
I don't think it helped at all that Darvish only got 7 outs or whatever for the entire World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, it turns out he was tipping his pitches, right?
Right.
And Houston's seen him so many times. I think that was the only mistake really that I saw that Dave Roberts made, was throwing Darvish in that last game. I would have thrown Wood. I would have thrown Kershaw. I would have thrown anyone else on that roster other than Darvish, because Darvish went in and put him at a huge disadvantage right off the bat.
Right. The article that I wrote for the website brought up the issue that if Kershaw's going to pitch 4 innings in the 7th game, why not make him the first 4?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on
and then you're ahead 1-0. And you take your chances because they got all their runs in the first 2 innings.
Right.
So if Kershaw shuts him out for the first 4, then you got the bullpen. And, one might be enough.
Again, I've had my doubts about Dave Roberts, but I thought that he had earned himself the ability for us to just sort of say, okay, let's let him do that. Because if he puts Kershaw in and Kershaw's the one that gets bombed on short rest, then I think what happens is we see a lot of the same things, Roberts, the complaint would be Roberts. I was happy. Look, I was disappointed, but I was happy to step back and say that was a great season. We were right there, a couple of breaks. But the thing is that you tip your cap to Houston and say their best players played their best at the right times. And we didn't. The Dodgers didn't.
Yeah. The other thing with Houston is there's a smaller gap between their best players and their worst players. I mean, they are a very solid team, top to bottom. Yeah. Their pitchers came through. That Game 7 guys did an awesome job. Their lineup around from top to bottom were
pretty solid.
Yeah, they were hitting. There was no out in that lineup.
No. There were times when it seemed early in the series where they weren't quite hitting great. the Dodgers had held them. It was some of those other games that sort of elevated the numbers when there was those football type scores that sort of changed things exactly. So I don't think there's big changes. I just don't think that there's big changes in store for the Dodgers. I don't think they need to make those big changes. They've got Alex Wood is a year older, and he looked great.
He pitched well.
He pitched great. I don't think we need to re-sign you, Darvish.
Oh no. I'd be shocked.
I'd be shocked if he didn't go to the Cubs or to the Rangers.
Yeah. But what about you mentioned that a number 2 starter? Could Woods be that guy? Wood be that guy?
Yeah. I think he could be. He certainly looked like that guy during the season. They didn't pitch him much in the postseason, and I was a little disappointed about that. It worked for Roberts throughout most of the postseason, where you didn't have to rely on Wood. You shorten your rotation, and I get that. But he could be that guy. He could absolutely grow into that guy. He's got good stuff, and he spins the ball great, and he could be that guy. But I think the Dodgers like to have lots of pitching. My problem with the whole analytics and the way that they sort of set up their rotation is that it's like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Right. So you've got Kershaw, and then you got a bunch of little dwarfs that they're good, and they're serviceable, but it's the regular season. Who's gonna be there and pick up that hip? Who are you gonna hand the ball to for Game 2 in the NLCS next year or the World Series next year? I don't know. I'm hoping it could be Alex Wood.
I just can't see your number 2 starter, pitching 4 innings because he's going to turn the lineup over for the 3rd time. You can't have Rich Hill being your number 2 starter next year and pitch 5 innings.
He's already what is he, 39 going to be?
Yeah, he's a number 4, number 5 starter.
Yeah.
But he did a great job.
Yeah, he did a great job, and he pitched well this season. And are the Dodgers going? I don't think the Dodgers are going to go out and get a guy who's like a 7-inning type number 2 guy. Unfortunately, I think that ship has sailed. It's all about the analytics. It's about more arms that can give you 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, they've got plenty of depth. There's not a problem there.
Hopefully Urias comes back mid to late next year after his surgery. That changes things a little bit. They've got Wood, they've got Hill locked up, and then there's Ryu,
right,
and Maeda.
He pitched super.
But for me, it's why not throw Maeda out of the bullpen? He could be the answer for a full season.
Yeah, he was. He would get them to Jensen, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can come in there and throw a couple innings if he has to.
Yep.
So you don't see any.
They re-signed Logan Forsythe, so they picked up the option on Logan Forsythe. Mm-hmm. Utley's a free agent, probably will not be re-signed. Ethier gone.
Yeah, they didn't decline his option.
Yeah, declined his option, and it was a big contract too, so it just made sense.
Yeah,
that's not to say that he might give him a hometown discount. He might re-sign with them for something less. It could happen. Mm-hmm. Adrian Gonzalez, I think we've seen the last of him in a Dodger uniform.
You don't need him now with Bellinger.
No, you don't need him. You don't need him. Somebody else can use him, but that back at his age, it's just never going to get better. It's just never going to get better. We're not well enough to where he's going to hit 20, 25 again. That's not going to happen.
No.
And when you got Bellinger there, Rookie of the Year, unanimous Rookie of the Year, like everybody would thought.
Yeah, he and Judge.
Yep.
Yeah, he and Judge. They said that Molitor and Torey Lovullo just won the Managers of the Year.
Yeah, it was Lovullo, Roberts, and Bud Black, so all from the NL West.
Right.
1, 2, 3 in the
Bud Black, former Angel coach.
Exactly.
Yeah, they both did good jobs.
Yeah.
We're fans of Buddy Black, so we're always talking about I would just laugh at the Padres. It's like, what?
What are they thinking?
You know, they had guys. They had Bochy, and I guess he wasn't good enough.
I guess, yeah.
And then
he
Bud
didn't
Black
get up-
apparently wasn't good enough. And
Neither one of those managers were able to win anywhere else. That's for sure.
Right.
yeah.
Is there anybody that you would like to see the Dodgers pick up? Maybe a little bench help or utility guy or extra outfielder, infielder?
No, I don't think that there's anybody that I would love to see.
You wouldn't want to see
the
Giancarlo
prices.
Stanton's.
Oh well, look,
bat in that lineup?
but again, I also look at first blush on the face of it. Wow, yeah, that'd be great. But then there's the pragmatic part of me that looks at it and thinks that contract is just gigantic. If anybody can afford it, it's the Dodgers. But maybe they go after that two-way kid from Japan,
Terry,
yeah, who has been made available by his Japanese team. So you pay the exchange
Posting
fee
fee,
and go after him. I don't know. I think that might be a better served, but that Stanton is just a huge contract, and if he goes to the Giants, I'll be, eating my words, right? I'll be eating crow.
You'll be wishing that the Dodgers ate
exactly.
that big But remember, he's got an opt out in 2020, right? He has another 2 monster years, and his contract gets even bigger.
Yeah,
he's owed $295 for the next 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
$295.
I mean, even the Dodgers. That's a big contract.
Oh yeah.
But they'll crunch the numbers, and that would be great. I mean, what a great land. Who's going to get Martinez, JD Martinez?
Yeah, there's a good stick. Yeah. Arizona would like to have him back, but I don't know if they've got the resources.
Right. I don't know if they do or not.
Yeah.
He's going to be asking for a lot.
Right.
Is it Hosmer who's also available?
Right, Hosmer.
A lot out there. I don't know that the Dodgers are going to make that big of a splash.
Well, yeah, they don't really have to. I mean, other teams are desperate.
Right.
Other teams need to step up and do something. The Dodgers are pretty well set. I mean, they've got plenty of depth. They got a solid lineup and good staff. I mean, if they make a deal, that's good. But I mean, they're not going to be crying if they can't. Can't.
No, I think the thing as far for me with the Dodgers, there's that part of you that says, "Boy, is this really the Chris Taylor we're going to see?" Chris, is this the new Chris Taylor? Are we going to be able to get him to play center field, lead off like he did? That's great. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, if he has a step back season, Bellinger, the sophomore jinx, that sort of thing. If he has a step back season, now you're looking at and Corey Seager, who's had some injury issues,
Right.
And then Turner, who ended the season with some injury issues. There's problems, potential problems where you get a big gun like a Giancarlo Stanton, you plug him in the lineup every day. It's different. It changes the complexion. Yeah. Taylor came out of nowhere, right? So do we catch fire with that?
I think Taylor's going to end up being your shortstop for the Dodgers. You see Seager move over to third, and then we plug in a big bat in the outfield again.
Maybe.
Because Taylor's a natural shortstop, natural middle infielder. Had never played outfield prior to this other than high school.
Right.
You think Seattle's begrudging that trade?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, but I think if you're Seattle, you look and go and say, "There's no way we would have predicted that." I mean,
of course
because he doesn't make those same fundamental changes in his swing in Seattle.
No,
right.
that he does if he doesn't come to LA.
Right.
So for Seattle, they just got to be shrugging their shoulders and saying, oh well, oops, but they couldn't have predicted that. They couldn't have predicted that, and the fact that Taylor was willing to do it, that's a hard thing. Yeah. That's a hard thing to actually change your approach at the plate and go from what he was to what he is now. And it was just kind of the perfect storm of the ball with the low seams and, and the exit velocity and the trajectory and the arc, those are things that are more measurable now. And so you can tell a guy like this, hey, be aggressive, do this,
Exactly.
Tells you a lot about the character of that kid, though, that he's coachable, he's willing to make adjustments on the fly, and take that success and run with it.
He was so super aggressive, and he willed himself into that leadoff spot.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if he continues to play and we get 90% of what he did last year in the leadoff spot with Seager behind him and Turner and Bellinger, no complaints. Because you just keep plugging, Puig and Wright, who's a Gold Glover despite not getting the Gold Glove, and figure out what you're going to do in left field. Is it Verdugo? Is it Tolles when he comes back from his injury? I'm not sure who the guy is.
Right.
I'm not sure who it is in left, but we know it's not Ethier anymore. So.
No. Let's look at the Angels for a second. I've got a few ideas on what I'd like to see them do. They're talking about they need help at the corners, maybe second base, and probably a pitching.
Probably pitching.
Well, it depends on.
If their guys are healthy, they're gonna have a deep staff. But none of them are healthy this year. But they have the numbers. They just don't have all the answers aren't there yet on whether all these guys are going to be healthy.
Well, we replaced the Hamilton contract with the Upton contract, right? So now at least we're solid in the outfield. All three outfielders
that's
completely
good.
solid.
I think that was a good signing,
great signing.
Even though it's sort of like you get dumped by a girl, but you go right back out there and start dating. It's I'm glad the Angels signed him. Even though they've had some bad contracts and that are lingering and those albatrosses on, around their neck, but they made that signing, and I think it's the right thing.
I think all the bad contracts are gone now.
They are.
Hamilton was the last one.
Hamilton,
Pujols
Wells.
Pujols.
Well, yeah, that's.
Pujols' contract though paid for the TV contract, so that's a wash when it really look at it.
Yeah, but if you have to keep plugging him in only as a DH, and now you've got yes it is. I mean, you can look at it that way, but if you're looking at just the lineup and what you're paying for in the lineup, I mean that thing's how many more years does he have? 5, 4.
He can still.
He's got a lot, right?
He's got a lot left.
6.
He can still give you 30 and 100, though. He can do that every year.
One base at a time, unless he hits it over the fence, right?
He'll run that triple into a single.
Yeah, exactly. He'll stretch it into a single for sure.
What are your thoughts? D. Gordon played for the Dodgers as well, so you might have a little bit of an idea. He's a free agent. He made $10.5 million this year. He's guaranteed $27.5 million. I wouldn't mind to see him at second base for the Angels. There's a leadoff guy with speed, pretty good player. I don't know what kind of clubhouse guy he is. I don't know him that well, but they need an upgrade at second base. I think that would be a good fit.
It's interesting because when he was with the Dodgers, he was just sort of learning how to be a leadoff guy. And all of those things that we thought a few years ago when D. Gordon was here about what it takes to be a leadoff hitter, taking pitches, working the count, stealing bases, that sort of thing, that's all out the window. So D. Gordon fits more of the mold of a guy who can be aggressive in the leadoff spot. The PED thing scares me a little bit, because there was definitely a jump in his productivity once that came between the time that before that came to light and then when that came to light, and then this year, pretty solid year. I don't know. That's a big contract. It's a big contract, and I think it's a little like buying a used car, right? It's you're buying somebody else's problems. The Angels have to do it that way because the cupboard is bare.
Exactly.
So they're going to have to go out and get it. I don't know if D. Gordon's the right guy.
Would you rather have him or Walker? Neil Walker, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's out there.
I'd love to have D. Gordon plug that hole with some speed. They need to have that speed. They're like, other than at shortstop, they're looking pretty old actually. Trout is Trout, right?
Right.
But the corners are not fast.
I think Scioscia would love D. Gordon.
Yeah.
He would be his Sean Figgins.
Yeah,
right.
He would. He can't play anywhere other than second. He's not, even though he's fast, he's quick to balls. He's not great defensively. I mean, when I saw him, as a Dodger, he was just not a great fielder for as much speed and as quick as he got to balls.
Yeah.
So I think it fits. I think it fits, but that's a lot of money.
I'm just tired of the merry-go-round.
Yeah.
At second base.
Keep plugging in the the rehabs at second, the retreads.
But until you restock the minor league system, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, well, they certainly don't have anything down there that's going to help them next year.
I'd vote for it. D. Gordon.
I'd like to see. I'd like to see him sign Moustakas,
I would love that.
third base.
Yeah.
He only made $8.7 million last year. 38 home runs, 85 RBIs, 272 left-handed hitter, which is what the Angels need.
Right.
I think he's from Chatsworth. Is he from Chatsworth?
Absolutely. Yep. And he's a different ballpark, being in that little bandbox in
Kansas City.
Kansas City, right?
Yeah, I'd love to see Moustakas or the other guy, the other corner, Eric Hosmer.
What would he get? What is he asking?
Who's
his agent?
Hope it's not Boris. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But he's 29. He's still got good years left. Or even Hosmer at first. He's Kansas City won't be able to sign those two plus Kane. They can't sign all three of them.
They need to get something at first. Statistically, they had the worst first base in all of baseball. It's horrible.
I think the trial for Crone is over.
Yes.
He's been going to be the first baseman for 3 or 4 years, and
he's turned into the Brandon Wood.
Yeah, he comes up and he hits well for a couple of weeks, and then see you later. But they've got to do something at the corners. There's no doubt about that. Like you said, Pujols is certainly not going to be in the field.
No,
and
I mean, they'll put him out there for a few games when they must, but he'll keep driving in runs.
Yeah.
He'll keep hitting home runs.
Yeah. Escobar last year did a good job at leading off, but he's 35 years old.
I really didn't
He's only
realize
35 years old, but he is a liability at third base.
Oh, he's a defensive.
He cannot throw.
Yeah. Plus that Brandon Phillips, he's up there too. That came in last year from Atlanta and played a little bit of second base. Yeah, they got to make some upgrades in those positions, I think.
Yeah, and they need to be thoughtful about how they do it. They need to be very thoughtful about how they do it. Yeah. And I think we'll see if it's a Socia type team, whether the writing is on the wall for Socia to continue. Like
you said, I think if they signed D. Gordon, I think that would be a Socia-like type team.
Correct.
Yeah. Get on base, first and third.
No.
One out, nobody out.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the USC and UCLA football. They got a game coming up this week. USC clinches the Pac-South. I'm sure if it was anybody else, I would say that maybe they're looking ahead, but they won't be looking ahead with the Bruins up next week. Plus, they finally get their first bye of the season after their final game. That's really helpful.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So right, they can rest next week.
That's right.
Next weekend you can rest, but it's rivalry week, and you've got home game, and a team that's been reeling. Paticut's got a good game last week, Bruins. Mm-hmm. He came out. Rosen is tough.
Rosen came back, right? Played a really solid game.
Played terrific.
Remember, UCLA has double motivation on this, right? Because they're not
it's their bowl game. Yeah,
they're not bowl eligible yet.
Not yet.
No. They need to get another win.
Well, this is their bowl game because
they're playing SC. I mean, their season is made if they can get this win.
Exactly. But they can still get in if they'll beat Cal next week at home, so they can still make be bowl eligible. But you're right. This is their season. I mean, if they win, if they beat the Trojans, I mean.
Right. No one remembers anything else if they beat the Trojans.
That's right. I don't think it's going to happen, but
no, I don't think so either. I think but Clay Helton is a reasonable, level-headed coach, but sometimes that kind of thing just gets away from you. Mm-hmm. You're looking past already, and now you're looking to next week we have next week off, and then it's the Pac-12 championship game, and maybe you're thinking more about who are we going to play as opposed to who you're playing this week. Mm-hmm. It could happen. It could happen. Rosen just slings that ball around the field. the big issue is if he's keeping them off balance and then they start to run a little bit. It's just the issue with the Bruins. If you're a Bruins fan, is you will not be able to stop the run game.
No, they're giving up 300 plus yards a game on the ground.
It's awful.
They're the last. They're absolutely
awful.
dead last in running defense.
Yeah, in the NC2A. I mean,
they might be relegated
dreadful.
to JC play next year if they can keep this up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the hope for Bruins fans is you try to stay in the game. The Trojans had a terrible first quarter against Colorado. Scored those 20 points in the second quarter. Got outscored in the second half. I think the Bruins look at that Colorado team and say, if we can do that in the first quarter, steal a couple of steal some points, a couple scores in the second quarter, hanging in that game. At some point, in that second half, we're gonna find out if Mora has recruited the right kind of talent. Because I look at that team and
his team.
I look at that team and it is all Mora's.
Yeah.
And if I was a Bruin fan, I'd be thinking, no more chances for Mora because those guys are not good. I mean, they're not good. I mean, they may have a high ranking, recruiting class. They're not developing them. Yeah. They're just not developing them. And that may be a Tom Bradley issue on defense. That may be because they have a new offensive coordinator. Again. It could be any of a number of things. But at some point, Mora has to take responsibility. And either the players fit or they don't. He says they fit. They've just been hurt, whatever. Played a much better game. Got a couple of guys back on defense. But I see a lot of wide receivers dropping balls. I see running backs who just like to run east-west rather than north-south.
Right.
How about bringing Chip Kelly in?
It's UCLA.
Right.
So they will never be able to pay the kind of money that a Chip Kelly is going to demand. They just won't. And I don't think that there's any way that Guerrero,
right,
who is one more year in his contract. Yeah. He's just not going to go through a coaching search.
Yeah,
he's just not going to do it.
He's
going to go down with the ship with Mora, and that's it. I think Mora is good for one more year, and by that point, who knows what's going to be happening with Chip Kelly.
Let the new AD worry about it.
Yeah. But again, for any Bruin fans, and I like to tease my friends who are Bruins fans. It's like, look at your coaches. Carl Durrell, Bob Toledo.
Yeah.
Right.
Jim Mora. Do you really think you're going to get a world-class quality coach? You're never going to get it.
Those guys don't bring in world-class quality athletes either.
No.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Neuheisel, all these guys they're not first tier guys. They're just not first tier type coaches. And that's because despite the fact that UCLA is a first class institution, is first class in almost pretty much all their other sports, in basketball, they think they're entitled to their football team being that. And it's like, no, you're always going to be sort of second class football citizens in the Pac-12. You just are. You just are. And you're not going to get a Chip Kelly or a Saban or whoever. It's just not going to happen for you. But Bruin fans like to delude themselves. They like to think that they will and that they can and that they're going to fight for the town and they're going to have up years. But look at Mora's record.
Yeah, it hasn't been.
The only time he won were with Neuheisel's guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's when he was winning. With Neuheisel's guys. Now, he's not winning with his own guys.
If you're USC, who do you want to play in that championship game? You got Washington State, Washington, Stanford, all with 2 losses. Washington and Washington State still have to play each other. Stanford beat Washington.
Wazoo. You lost to them earlier. You want to win.
Yeah.
You want to avenge that.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I don't think it's going to happen that way. and I'm not saying that it would be an easier game for the Trojans necessarily. I don't want to play UW. Stanford, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'd like to play.
But to me,
State.
it's like you already beat Stanford.
Yeah, right.
You beat Washington last year on their field. Play Wazoo.
Yeah,
Beat them again.
I'd like to see him play Wazoo.
beat
I
him
would not
once.
want to go against Stanford. Those guys are only going to get better.
yeah.
I would not want to play with them a second time.
Yeah, I'd like to play Washington State also. I think that'd be a good game. While we're on the college end of it, let's talk about the 3 Bruins who are on their way home from China.
They're leading the league in steals, by the way.
Very good. LiAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, and Jalen Hills. What are those guys thinking about? I mean, you're in a foreign country. I mean, what goes through your mind? I mean, that's incredible that.
Yeah,
You must-
and again, look, they're kids. They're teenagers, and even if they didn't do what they were first accused of doing, their behavior was such that it was drawing attention.
Yeah.
They, where there's smoke, there's fire. They did something wrong, right?
Exactly.
They said they had them on video footage,
Of course.
but they've dropped the charges and they've let them come home. So, right? That's what I heard. That the charges were dropped, so they don't have to go back and face them anything. It's done. It's a done deal.
I mean, before you did that, wouldn't
Right.
you stop and think? I bet they've got security cameras around this Louis Vuitton.
I don't think they're
store.
thinking at all, right?
Well, you got to remember that this one of the kids has ball jeans, right? So you
Right.
know,
So there's
how
no rules.
smart could he be?
No rules that apply actually to him.
That's right.
Right? It's the ball rule.
Yeah. That was pretty. So what happens now? I mean, since there's no charges, the NCAA or UCLA
I
are
heard.
not doing
Well,
it?
they might be punished internally, but I'm a Trojan fan, so knowing the Bruins, it's like, oh, they sat out that game. Their punishment is done. The charges were dropped.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
But UCLA likes to think that they have higher integrity, than everybody else, and so they should do the right thing, right? And suspend them a couple more games, and for ruining this international peace,
Right.
arrangement where they're going off and playing basketball internationally in China. It's supposed to be this goodwill exhibition.
Game, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean the games count, but who knows? Look, I'm glad they're back. Nobody wishes.
No.
As much as I'm not a ball
Wishes
fan,
your
I
enemy.
didn't want 3 kids
Yeah.
to be stuck in China.
Now, if it was
for sure.
LeVar that they threw in there, I'd be all for that.
Yeah.
Oddly
keep
enough, LeVar was over there
Yeah.
doing his business ventures.
Yeah,
so.
keep him there.
But the Bruins are going to be good this year. They need a couple of those kids in the starting lineup and in their rotation. So they're going to need those kids back if they want to compete. Arizona's great. The Trojans are.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Trojans are a
tremendous.
top 10 team right now.
Absolutely.
They're number 10.
Right.
They were ranked in the top 10 preseason and had a great win against Cal State Fullerton and then beat North Dakota State.
North Dakota, yeah.
They've struggled a little bit there, but they are so deep
They only
and
lost
so long.
Didn't they lose this one guy from last year who averaged, 2 points a game or something?
Yep, exactly. They got most of those guys back.
Yeah, top 3 scorers
yeah.
came back.
Yeah.
Chimezi Metu is a beast in the middle. Benny Boatwright stretches the D, and he's long. McLaughlin and Matthews and they're a good team. I mean, they're a good team. They deserve every bit of their ranking, and I think they're going to be right there on Arizona's heels.
Yeah.
They could win.
Oh, yeah.
They could win a Pac-12 title.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good team, and I love Andy Enfield in the way that he has shaped that team. And they got the kid, I think Thornton, who transferred from Duke, and they got the O'Bannon kid,
Right.
the
Ed
nephew.
O'Bannon's son?
Yeah.
Or is it nephew or son?
That's the whoever the good one was.
Ed
it's
O'Bannon?
the nephew.
Okay.
So I think it's
Nephew.
Charles O'Bannon's kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's so it's the nephew. but he's good. He's a good player, and we'll see. We'll see, and we'll also see if there's any fallout from those FBI charges and those federal charges that.
Now, is the coach still on the staff? Or is he? No, he's gone.
USC should thank UCLA for changing the spotlight from their coaching scandal to the China's scandal.
I think the only thing that for USC is that their assistant coach only had been involved or since August. Wasn't much longer before that, like some of the other guys who were being indicted. And it may hurt with one of their recruits who may not. I think Melton, who I think is still up in the air. He didn't play in the first game. I don't think he played in the second game. So there's still a question of whether he's going to be cleared and eligible. The Trojans may just say, "Look, we're so deep and we don't need this trouble." And if the NC2A hands anything down to this kid, then we'll just let him go.
Right. Yeah. Decommit and go on.
Yeah.
Your Kings are still on fire.
They're on fire. They lost. They've lost two out of the last three, but they're great. Yeah, they're playing much better. The pace. They've got some pace in that lineup now. Kempe. You follow. Much better. Kopitar. Is playing better. Yeah. Dustin Brown looks rejuvenated.
I love Stevens. I think he's done a heck of a job. Stevens
has done a great job. They've been great on special teams. They've been scoring power play goals. They've been killing penalties. It's they're a fun team to watch, and they've always been great when they get it to overtime in the 3-on-3. Jonathan Quick is terrific. He's been terrific. They're looking like they could. Like world beaters at times. So when they score, it's when they get held under, I think 2 goals or less, they're not winning too many games like that. But they're grinding. They're playing great.
They're off to a great start.
Yeah, it's been tremendous. And so again, just a little change with some of the personnel and the pacing and with guys that can skate a little faster. Like Kempe and. Follow, and so it's
and they've bought into his system too.
Totally. Totally, and it's nice when you've got defenders, like Martinez and Dowdy and Muzzin, who are offensive minded but good stand up defenders as well. So
good team.
It's been great. And not too many injuries. The Carter injury hurts. But not like the Ducks, boy.
They're ravaged.
Walking wounded, man.
Yeah. They got, Gretzky out? Getzlaff and Eves and Fowler's out and Kessler.
Right. It's a mash unit over there. Yeah. But it's early, right? It's a long season.
It's a long haul.
And all you have to do is make the dance.
Yeah, and they've been playing well enough to hang around. It's not like they're falling so far behind.
Right.
They're playing well with the players that they do have out there.
They're like 7-3, I think, something like that. So they're just treading water, but
that's all right. It's a long season. You got to get those guys healthy though.
I want to make mention too of speaking of the Ducks, Teemu Selanne and Paul Kariya being inducted into the National Hockey League Hall of Fame over the weekend. What can you say about Teemu Selanne? The guy, he's the all-time Ducks leader in games played, goals, second in assists. He's number 1 in points, power play goals, game-winning goals, hat tricks. He's number 11 all-time in total goals scored, 684. And he's really he's not just a great player, he's a great person.
Right.
He's a great person in the community.
Great guy, absolutely.
I've never heard of a scandal or seen him on the front page of Esquire or
sort of the Derek Jeter of hockey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's
some good headlines all the time, doing good deeds and giving it all on the ice every single game, leaving it on there. Yeah,
he's been a credit to the Ducks and a credit to the community, and certainly helped hockey to evolve in Orange County. Korea didn't spend that much time with him, but he still put up some decent numbers. He was 5th in games played, 3rd in goals, 4th in assists, 4th in points, 2nd in power play goals, 1st in short-handed goals, 4th in game-winning goals, and 3rd in hat tricks. So he had a short career.
Right.
I think he didn't play that many games, but
he was so small and he got hit a lot.
Yeah,
and,
he was
concussions and things sort of slowed him down. But he was the Ducks' first star.
He was.
He was the Ducks'
He
first
opened
star.
that franchise up.
Yep.
Yeah. And brought him to the prime time with it.
Yeah, he and that's what finally got him was the concussion. I think was he 31? I think was he 31 when he retired?
Yeah, he's young.
Something like that.
He was young.
Very young.
Just a kid.
Yeah. But bred and raised in the system. Yeah, drafted by the Ducks.
Right.
And really the first face of their franchise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he and Solani were incredible to watch together. I mean, they always knew when one of them had the puck, they always knew where the other guy was going to be. He was always there, and vice versa, and they just communicated so well, and the chemistry was just amazing, and they were really fun to. It was a fun time to watch the Ducks play. They really made that team click. Any comments on Lonzo becoming the youngest NBA player in history to record a triple-double? Compliments from LeBron.
Right. LeBron loves him. You know why LeBron loves him, right? Kid's a passer.
That's right. He distributes, right? And then that means that LeBron doesn't have to bring the ball up and pound his body. It's like as far as I'm concerned, let's be patient on both sides with Ball, right? Be patient when he plays poorly because he can't shoot. He cannot shoot. Can't shoot from the free throw line.
No,
he cannot shoot from the 3-point line. He is not making many of his just regular field goals. He's a bad shooter. He may score and he may make other guys better, but we need to be patient on that. We also need to be patient and tempered when it comes to the things that he does well. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? And so if you're drafted young into the league and you have any talent at all, you're going to, break some records that other great players have had. Right. Is Lonzo Ball going to be as great as LeBron James? God, no. God, no. He's not going to.
He would be great with LeBron James.
And he'd be terrific with
LeBron would love that.
LeBron. But I like what I'm seeing, generally speaking. The problem is that, Lonzo just doesn't need to be defended beyond the arc.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That'll continue to be a problem. They're going to sag off of him, and teams are, once they go through this, through the NBA, once they're going to know what's up. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I think if you get, 10, 7 and 7 from him, that's a success.
Yep.
This year. Unfortunately, none of those 10 are coming on free throws. He's been dreadful. Yeah. He's not going to hit the big threes. That's got to improve. And the thing that I'm not seeing is he really hasn't made Randall better. He really hasn't made Brandon Ingram better. Kuzma is just a good player.
He's a good player.
He's been
a great find there.
The great find.
Yeah.
But Bogut hasn't been playing much, so it's like, what the hell did we do there, right? Like I said, put Thomas Bryant out there, and let's get some of the younger guys out there.
Yeah.
Right. Zubats.
Yep.
We didn't, the Bogut thing. It seemed like it was just insurance, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see they're winning some games. That's good. We need to be patient. I just don't see him improving everybody else around him. He sat out the whole fourth quarter last night. Sat out the whole fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, on purpose. I mean, Luke just said, "Look, you're a liability."
Yeah.
Right? They're going to foul you. They're going to send you the.
Yeah.
We need somebody else.
Looks like Shaq.
Right.
Yeah.
Hack Alonzo.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's wait and see. But the stretch that they have coming up, right? What do they play Phoenix again in a couple of days, right?
They just played them.
And they play them in a couple of days too, right? Yeah, I think so. And I think they've got Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So some winnable games.
Right.
But Philadelphia
Over-under is 35. 35 wins.
Yeah. We talked about that. I think I under. I would say, but
it's 30. It's up to 35 now.
That's what it said this morning. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, they're second in the West at 6 and 8.
Yeah. Go figure. But what were they last year? 10 and 10, right? Something like that.
10 and 10.
Right.
Start 10
Then
10.
it- yeah.
And then it went.
apart. Yeah,
Off the cliff.
Luke made
Yeah.
reference to that in one of earlier this year. He says, "Don't forget,
Yeah,
we were 10 and
exactly.
10 last year, and then they lost
Exactly.
a ton of games."
I worry about what they're developing there. I just don't see it. You don't go, oh, yeah, Josh Hart, he can make a three for you. It's like, God, I don't even know what Josh Hart's doing out there. And you're thinking, KCP, Contavious Caldwell-Pope is playing well, but he's not great. I don't know. I really don't know what to think of them.
Well,
They're fun. They were fun to watch in that first win in Phoenix when they scored a lot of points. It was a lot less fun last night.
Yeah.
And it's not encouraging, when Ball's sitting out the whole fourth quarter. Yeah.
I wonder if LeVar had any comments about that.
No.
Probably wasn't too happy.
He was worried about posting bail in China.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think unless anybody else has any other topics they want to talk about, I think that'll probably do it for tonight.
No, I think we're good.
We done?
Yeah.
All right. We are out.
Good night.